was, Dean versus 20 conservative women. So yeah, talk to me a little bit about some takeaways you might have had.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be from any specific part of the episode, because
Yeah.
we're going to be pulling stuff for ages.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like the biggest thing for me was just how baffling the arguments were, and also the reactions, I will say, the arguments and the reactions, because anytime Dean would actually bring facts and statistics, it was like a personal attack on them.
Yeah.
And
can we just say, like, personal anecdotes cannot be used to argue against facts, right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense if you think your dad was a great leader as a man. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not relevant to the debate at all, because you can't speak to an entire group of people based on your personal experiences. And I think it highlights for me one glaring obvious thing was like empathy. Like, it shouldn't take somebody in your family or something to impact your life for you to be able to realize the consequences of said actions.
True.
And so, yeah, it's just like a lot of people weren't able to grasp a lot of that, like that at all.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many different like crazy points that were brought up.
True. Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of some of the topics that they got on about, I mean, they weren't all specifically about Trump or anything, but it was made about him, of course, throughout the arguments. But they talked about, like, do you believe that men are better leaders than women? They talked about abortion rights. They talked about, specifically, do you believe that Donald Trump is a misogynist and things like that? So they kind of touched on a lot of different, what were you about to say?
No, well, I'm just laughing about the first one, because the first one was the first question, which was, do you believe that men are inherently better leaders than women? For us, very obvious, no. Right? Like, there have been notorious women leaders of nations throughout history, current and present, like past, like it is not in any way down to the sex you were born with.
Yeah, and also it's just like, we know even in the animal kingdom, we know historically, like, matriarchy was the king, that was the way that
humans developed.
Literally developed society. Women were the matriarchs. So yeah, it's just interesting how that kind of has been misconstrued and turned into like, men are actually better leaders than women, when that's just historically not. If you look at like deep time, that's not how.
So immediately invalidating that argument. And then additionally, it's just like saying that because a profession is dominated by men means that men seek out those positions because of their desire to lead, or
because
whatever
they're better at it.
It is just insane. No, the reason that these fields are dominated by men is because men created barriers for entry for minorities and for women that prevented them from entering these fields that they were dominating. So specifically, white men for a long time have, controlled a majority of fields due to lack of accessibility from other groups of people. It is not because they are the more desired positions by people with testosterone. Like, that is, it is such a fallacy argument.
Yeah, truly.
And it just didn't matter what facts Dean was bringing up. I think for me, the most glaring one was how the women that were arguing against him continued mentioning like pregnancy and childbearing as a reason for why women are not as good leaders as men. And Dean's counter argument was about a scientific research study that was done regarding women and pregnancy, which actually revealed that women have higher levels of tolerance for stress and pain and those sorts of things, which is how women actually get through pregnancy. And so it was pretty endearing that even when presented with scientific research, didn't matter.
Yeah, didn't matter at all. So it's just like, I mean, that's just, and a lot of the women brought that up after he told them about the science behind why women actually deal with stress better, deal with pain better, don't get as angry. Women do not commit as many violent crimes as men do. They don't have as many crimes of passion as men do. And like,
not as many suicides.
Like, if we look at all of the facts and statistics, like, women are more able to manage their emotions than men. And like
Yeah.
that also says a lot about our society as well,
Mm-hmm.
because men are told to suppress their emotions from a very young age. So it's like,
Yep.
women are allowed to be in their emotions and feel their emotions and like
Yeah.
learned how
Yeah.
to cope with them and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Whereas men, I keep gesturing you to just
That's
because
all
you are a
good. That's all
man.
good. Again,
Sorry.
this is like, you don't have to take offense to everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's another point that those people in there could not grasp. They
Right.
were taking offense to everything Dean said as if he was attacking them. And
Right.
it's just like, I know you're not
I
attacking me
know.
on a personal level.
It's
I know
just
you're
because you're a
speaking.
man sitting
Yeah.
next to me.
But anyway, continue. You're on.
No, but just like men aren't allowed to feel their emotions. They're told to suppress them. And when you suppress something, it's like a ticking time bomb. And
Yeah.
it's like, we see a lot of these egos, a lot of this like toxic masculinity. And that
Yep.
was also brought up. Oh,
Yep.
men are being told they're toxic because they're
Oh,
masculine. But
yeah.
it's like, that's not what toxic masculinity is.
No. And that woman also proceeded to say that like women are more, or men are more oppressed than women. And like, again,
Dean, you're more oppressed than I am sitting here. And
yeah,
he was like,
as a
what?
white man is more oppressed than a woman. Like, women in the United States have literally had healthcare, their body autonomy taken away from them in numerous states across the country, where they can't safely get an abortion, even if it is a, what was the
Ectopic
ectopic
pregnancy.
pregnancy, which obviously could result in the death of the mother. Like, some states still don't even allow abortion in that case.
Yeah,
In this,
statistically, like an ectopic pregnancy most
yeah,
times ends in like
the
the
death of
death of the
both,
mother because it's
right?
hard to diagnose it.
Yeah. And so it's just like, you had a woman who was literally just saying that these, again, facts and statistics were just not true. She just refused to believe that there were circumstances in which, if you had to choose between the mother's life and the baby, she just didn't believe those things. And again, like, how are you supposed to have a conversation and change somebody's mind and enlighten them on things and try and teach them about and studies that have been done in research if they just won't listen to the scientific research?
Yeah, and something I would like to say on that is like I think that there has to be,
Oh,
and I know that you'll agree with this, there has to be like a certain level of open mindedness when it
yeah,
comes to having these conversations.
facts.
Because if someone isn't open to like listening to facts and statistics and
Yeah,
letting that kind of shape their view of things, then it's
facts.
just going to be an argument back and forth of like, here's the facts, and then okay, but this is my opinion, and that should
Right,
be taken as fact as well, which is just
right.
like,
And that's really a huge issue that's
yeah,
been like occurring more and more these days, especially on the conservative side of the aisle, like Republicans generally, is that they're arguing as if opinion hold the same weight in a discussion or in a debate as facts, as research, as statistics. And it's just like, that is not true. And once again, when the question was raised for a specific policy or for anything in your life that has gotten better for during this presidency, right? It all related back to personal reasons. It
yeah,
was never looking at the general United States and addressing how life has been for the average
right.
person in the public. It was all about, oh, well, things have gotten better for me for blah, blah, blah.
Right. It was
So
that, or they
selfish.
would bring up immigration, which is also
Right.
just
Yeah.
inherently racist.
Right. Yeah. Just like the same dog whistle scare tactic
Yeah.
BS that Republicans love shouting out. And again, once the facts were presented of how much, illegal immigrants were paying into our tax system, billions of dollars in taxes they pay, because as anybody in the United States knows, money is automatically drawn out of our paychecks and given to the government. So again, they wouldn't even acknowledge baseline facts that we all know. And so we know that anybody who is working in our country, illegal or legal, is paying into our tax system. They have to. Automatically, it happens.
Yeah.
And again, they just wouldn't acknowledge the fact that that was happening and that we as Americans benefit from the tax money that immigrants pay in and do not have access to the same social
Right.
services that we do. So again, it's just like more fallacies, more, opinion based dog whistle tack. You know what I mean? It was
Mm-hmm.
just nonsense being rattled off that was not statistically proven. And when facts were presented back to them, it just wasn't accepted.
Yeah, no. And also, can we just like talk about how I'm changing the topic?
That's okay.
How delusional you have to be to sit in a room and say, I would sleep with Donald Trump.
Oh man. Yikes. And a lot of those women were in relationships and stuff, and they still were,
well, yeah, some of them were like, I'm married, I'm not answering that question.
right. But then when
like,
they took out the if you're in a relationship aspect, they were all saying that. Like, imagine, like, how can a conscious person like realistically say that they would like sleep with an 80 something year old person,
disgusting,
like of their, like, you know,
disgusting.
like it's just like it is just, and it just highlights the delusion, right?
Yes.
Like the cult aspect
it
of it.
really does.
It's like the cult leader is completely infallible.
Yeah.
But it's everybody else's fault. Oh, it's Biden's fault. Oh, it was Obama. Oh, it was the Democrats. Oh, it was all these things. And yet your person has been in control during some of our most unstable times in American history. And that's a fact.
Yes, 100%. And they were trying to talk about with the Jan 6 about how there was FBI in the crowd, and they were the ones that were like inciting whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then Dean was like, okay, but whose FBI was it at the time?
Yep.
Trump's.
Yep.
It was his FBI.
Literally.
He was still president at the time.
And can we just acknowledge the fact that at no point is storming a federal government building as people, as a large enraged crowd, is that okay? At no point.
No.
We know what the intention was with Mike Pence. They were trying to stall the the essentially validation of the election, in which the vice president is responsible for. And again, like, that isn't normal. We have never seen a transfer of power occur in this sort of manner in modern American history.
Yeah.
That is not normal. And again, these people look at it like completely delusional. Like, to think that there were bad actors placed in a crowd. They were flying their Confederate flags. They smeared SHIT on the walls of federal buildings. And again, these people can't even acknowledge that that was wrong.
Right.
And we're supposed to, and that is, and I think that is really why it's just not even worth the debate.
Yeah, that's
like,
fair.
Honestly, Dean has way more patience than I do. Like, kudos to him for having the patience to try and like actually speak to them without getting immediately frustrated and just being like, hey man, I can't argue with you with these people. I mean, I hate to say it. And I know that that's like a thing on the conservative side, is like the whole like talking down and treating them like they're not as smart and things like that. But again, if you're not willing to listen to research, listen to science, like the one woman who said she doesn't go to the doctor or trust doctors or believe in doctors. It's just like, if those are your stances, it is very difficult to have a educated conversation that can be moved forward or progressed forward. Yeah. It's hard to do that because you're not willing to listen to facts. And that is a big part of the issue. People don't mean to talk down, but if you will not listen to facts, to statistics, and then have a critical thought about the evidence that has been presented to you, naturally, people are going to say, okay, you are solely acting on emotion. Facts. And that is what less educated people do.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else to say to that.
Yeah, because it's like, you just get like angry and frustrated because a lot of the time too, he would bring something up and then it'd be, oh, I don't know about that.
Right. Yeah.
So then it's like, okay,
and then
then we can't even have a conversation because you won't allow me to educate you either.
Yeah. And then you want to answer a question with a question. It's just like, so no, annoying. These are his prompts that he has presented. It is your job to argue against the point that has been stated.
Yeah.
That is your job, to have a conducive thought about why you believe that statement is wrong.
Right.
So by asking another question, you're not presenting your argument.
No.
And again, it's just like, that is what we're talking about. Everything is like justified. Kamala Harris gets brought up and thrown out there. She was the attorney general for the largest economy state, California, in our country. doing massive cases for the federal government in California.
Yeah.
So when we talk about qualification and, people being taken seriously on a global stage, she's more educated, more experienced, and had actually served the American people on numerous levels of government before she ran for office in
Yeah.
her short time as a candidate in running for office, right? So it's just like, if you can't even look at the qualifications of the two candidates and on paper see the difference, the clear difference between these people, then how are we supposed to have a conversation with you?
I know, I know. Like, and one of the crazy things too, I just thought about this. One of the prompts was talking about Donald Trump being misogynist and a sexual predator.
Yeah.
And one of the women who came up was talking about basically saying like, well, as long as he gets stuff done for the country, I don't care what he did.
That was crazy. That was crazy.
What?
It's just like,
What do you mean?
how?
What do you
How
mean? What do
is
you
that how you
mean?
think?
What do you mean?
That is
Because
crazy.
how can he like actually get things done and care about the people who he's getting things done for if he is clearly misogynist, he's clearly racist, he's clearly a pedophile, he's clearly, a lot of things. He's a lot of things. So like
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, as long as he gets stuff done, we're good. But what's he getting
Yeah.
done? He's not getting anything done except for
Yeah. I
making things
mean,
worse.
yeah. And again, like when those things are presented, the Bureau of Statistics, like, things that you can search on .gov websites if they haven't tampered with the real
Oh
evidence.
yeah.
But just like all of these things present the job growth, the slowing economy, the fuel prices, the rising cost of living, the rising cost of food, like all of these things are tied to this current administration. Republicans control all three houses of our government, the
Yeah.
presidency, representatives, and the Senate. So there is no one else to blame except for you guys. The reflecting pool was a disaster. The conflict in Iran was a disaster. Everything has gone downhill since this administration took office. And again, it just comes down to the lack of accountability. It's always someone else's fault. It's always the Biden administration. It's always something that happened a decade ago. It's always elsewhere. It's never the responsibility of the people who are in charge right now. And
Never.
that is unbelievable.
True. I agree. It's
Just a
always
joke.
like placing the blame elsewhere, which is also just like very cult.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, I mean, we didn't even touch on some of the religious arguments because we already know that all religious arguments are covered in fallacies. I think, Dean did a good job of comparing essentially like radical Christians to radical Islamists and essentially saying that there are radical people on both religions, but majority of people who follow said religions are not radicals.
Yeah.
And again, that's just a fact. That one woman was just spewing out a whole bunch of
peeped
Islamophobia.
We peeped you.
She needs to be watched like intently
Crazy.
because no one should be spewing out that sort of hatred. And
well, she was also the one that said she would sleep with Donald Trump.
That's also true. So again, massively delusional.
Yeah.
But again, like if you can't listen to a lot of this fearmonger stuff that's spewed out by Fox channel, I won't even call it news because it's not news. They obviously lost that lawsuit because of how much they lie on the channel. So if you're watching Fox for global anything, you're already getting such a small lens. And then these people are obviously not researching or looking into any of the things they're hearing. They're just believing it and regurgitating it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, most of these things can be disproven and were disproven by Dean and by the facts and statistics that exist out there. So, I mean, yeah, so it was pretty case closed, but man, is it enlightening to see some of the counter arguments to progression?
Yeah, my God.
My goodness.
Who hurt you?
I know. And
who hurt you?
I mean, it's just like crazy seeing like women who are anti-women also. Like, how do you not think that you could be a good leader? I just don't understand that. Like,
I know.
But if you're not a good leader, you should then be trusted with the children in the household. It's just like, come on, man.
What
Like,
do
do
you
you
mean
not
by
understand how there's fallacy in that argument?
True.
And then, yeah, the religious mumbo jumbo, and then just the Trump glazing was just insane. Like, again, think critically, try and think for yourself. do some reading, do some research. Like, I love how Republicans and conservatives love throwing that out there. Oh, do some research, and oh, I read this article, but you know,
I have more life experience.
it's never
than
backed.
You.
Yeah, it's literally never backed in like actual facts and actual research, which is always hysterical. Because again, if they were doing that reading, they wouldn't be conservative. But
Facts.
they don't read anything that would counteract their belief system. So yeah. So anyway, yeah. So anyway, for our Osmo Dies, those were our thoughts on Dean Withers' new Jubilee episode in which he debated 20v1 with 20 conservative women. Massively interesting. Worth the watch.
Yeah, honestly, worth the watch. So
Yeah.
if you made it this far, thanks for watching. See you next time.
Peace.
Bye.